Carnes is a little hamlet on the very south edge of Sioux County. As a matter of fact, it's 1 mile north of the Sioux-Plymouth County line, and it didn't start as a community at first, it started as a railroad. The railroad was the Chicago, St. Paul, Milwaukee, and Omaha Railroad, and its latest tracks down in 1870 for the train, so that the train could go between Le Mars and St. Paul. This here is a map, 1880. You need to shut off the lights a little bit so you can see. 1885. You can see Old City and Alton there. And it's not real clear, but there's no town in this vicinity where Carnes normally would be located. Next slide. Now, Alton's way up there. Carnes is located right here. Okay, what I'm going to be talking about is the school 1 mile west of Carnes, and also there's a church 1 mile north and 1 mile west of Carnes. We'll get into a little bit of that a little bit later. But the railroad goes through. 1870 it came about. The land around the area, when the railroad came through, was quickly being taken over by farmers that homesteaded, still no houses. So, in 1890, a Reinder Baumer and his wife Gertrude, Dutch, I'm not good at it.
Yeah, John.
Okay, that sounds good. They caused a plat to be drawn at Carnes in section 28 of Nassau Township, which was to be filed in the courthouse on November 25, 1890. Right. This is the plot map. Now, it provided 13 lots parallel to the railroad. Following after that, Carnes had an elevator, a lumberyard, and some say 2 lumberyards, a general store, 4 or 5 houses, a post office, and a general store. Now, looking at the plot map, you got the railroad. This actually north is kind of like this. Okay? This is Highway 33. Well, at that time it was gravel. Anyway, got the railroad coming through between Le Mars and Alton. You got lots on the south side of it. Got lots on the north side. I find that quite interesting. Go ahead to the next slide. Here's a picture. You notice the railroad tracks coming through. You got the elevator. On the south side, you have the general store and houses. Today, that's cornfields. Okay? So, keeping that in mind. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This is a picture that was taken around 1970. That's when this elevator over here got built. This is the old elevator. The depot used to be somewhere in between in here. This here is the south side of the road, where the general store and the house was. And in the back, we'll get to the gas station here with some more houses. Okay, next slide. This is the picture I took. So this is what it looks like today. We still got the old elevator. We still got the new elevator. Next slide. And this is the south side of the road. Cornfield. Okay? So, now the question is, who in the world would want to live in Carnes? Keeping in mind that this was the horse and buggy days, And the automobile wasn't around yet. Well, it just happened to be a John Bloom. He was the manager of J. Youngsma and Brothers General Store. Then there was also a Jan Vandenberg. He had a business in his hamlet. I don't know what kind of business it was. A C.A. Wernie and Company, he ran the elevator. A Mr. Larson, he ran the lumberyard. And then later on, Otto de Young ran the farmer's elevator. Miss Grace Reinders was the teacher at the country school 1 mile west of Carnes. Go ahead. That's the picture of the country school 1 mile west of Carnes.
What was the name of the person?
Grace.
Grace Reinders?
Yes.
That's his aunt.
My aunt.
Well, she was a teacher. Now, I'm not sure if she lived in Carnes or her folks are just up the road.
About a mile north and a mile west, right next to the church.
Okay.
That was the Gerard Reinders farm.
Okay.
And Gerard, my grandfather, was the father of Grace.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So she must be on that picture.
So anyway, you can see neighborhood country school kids. That's doesn't look like the country school I used to go to. But anyway. Now, in 1880 and through the 1890s was a real bad recession and depression, as you can see from the farm sale. Oops. Okay, now, let me back up here. I tried to get to the country school, which is the one mile west. So I hit the first gravel road south of Carnes, and this is what I found. Next one. So then I went around and I figured, okay, I'll come in from the north and head south to the school. Well, that's what I found there. In other words, you can't get there from here. So.
Is the building still there?
No.
No. As a matter of fact, the country school, that corner, is part of a gravel pit. So, I was hoping I could find something, but nope. Okay, next. As I said, it was the Depression time. And this here is a William Mulder owned it, and this is in 1897, September 8, commencing at 10 o'clock a.m. The following described property to wit. I love the way they do this in the paper. 3 horses, 4 milk cows, 3 heifers, 1 steer, 5 calves, 1 full-blooded Durham bull. I didn't even know they had full-blooded ones. 1 full-blooded Jersey bull, 35 spring pigs. I got pigs all the time now. Half-blooded Poland China, 100 chickens, a self-binder, 3 section harrow, a corn planter, 11-foot force-feed cedar. Interesting. A fanning mill, disc harrow, 2 riding plows. Oh, that's right. Horses, that you want, yeah. A lumber wagon, 2-seated buggy, bobsled, a cutter, household goods, and many other articles, too numerous to mention, with free lunch at noon, so that's a good thing. Terms, 1 year's time will be given on sums over $10. On approval, notes bearing 8% interest. Sounds like today. With the sums under $10 will be cash. So that's a regular farm bill. And from my understanding, there's quite a few of them. Okay, beginning in March 1897, a Mrs. A. Christensen, from the time Carnes got started, that was the first death in the area. Now, the funeral was at the house. Carnes didn't have a church yet. So they had the funeral at the house, and she was buried in Nassau Township Cemetery, which is 2 miles west of Alton. Now, a lot of business took place between Alton and Carnes, mainly because of the railroad. And Alton was the stopping point for everything coming or going east and west, and north and south. So Alton was the center hub for the railroad. In 1903, a bunch of people got together, and they decided a church needed to be established in the area. Makes sense? People were meeting in the schoolhouse 1 mile west of Carnes for their services. It was decided that the church should be built in Carnes, and that a lot would be donated by an Abe Mulder. However, J. Bones and J. Brower refused to come to Carnes if they put it in the town of Carnes. So they canceled that idea. Let's see what the next slide is. Oh yeah, the church. So on October 12, 1904, 1903 is when they decided they needed the church. 1904, they got organized so that they could have a consistory with Hendrik Lenzenbrink and Dick LaFleur as elders, and Gerrit Reinders and Hans Mellema were deacons. Sound familiar? Yeah. Okay, then on October 12, 1904, the consistory met to discuss about constructing a church building. Gerrit Reinders donated some of the land for the building site, which was 1 mile north and 1 mile west of Carnes, as you mentioned. Construction began in the winter of 1905. In the spring of 1906, it was decided to call a minister for the congregation. Let's go to the next slide. That's the church with the parsonage. Okay. Then, let's see, it was decided to call a minister. They first called a J. Gawker. He declined. Then they called a J. M. Bielveld. He declined. Then they called H.J. Mulder. He declined. Now it's 1908. And they kept trying. I get them for being persistent. Then they called an S. Elderveld. He declined. Finally, in October 1908, they called a J.B. Vandenhoek, and in November of 1908, he accepted the call and moved into a just brand new finished parsonage on December 1, 1908. As you can see, that's the parsonage along with the church. Now, the church lasted until 1943, when more people decided to go to Orange City for their church services, courtesy of the automobile. And that 1943, they decided to close the church. Now, I have a record of the church from 1903 of everybody to 1943. It's all here. So anybody, if you're curious, go ahead and help us out. You may not take it home. Okay? It stays.
Where did you get it?
Tell them
From the
there's an
actual-
index in the front that tells you what page that family is on.
We look at this.
And we got this out of the genealogy records here at the library.
It was I photocopied it, but I don't know where it came from. Tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
I got another copy also in the folder.
Okay.
A partial copy anyway.
Yeah. Next slide. This is what the church looks like today. I went to that corner, And I actually took a picture trying to figure out where the church and the parsonage supposedly would be. And it's on Ironwood and 490th. So, and it's no longer exists. I was hoping that one of the farm places would have picked up the parsonage and made it into a farm home, but they didn't. So, I tried. Now, in 1909, in September, Carnes got robbed. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah, I know, we got church. We still got church stuff. This is a Carnes Christian Reformed Church picnic with the whole congregation. Okay.
So if you want to look real close on this thing, maybe you could recognize somebody,
Yeah.
but I doubt it.
Right. So, actually, they had a pretty good crowd for the church. Okay, next picture. This is my mother's ladies' aid, and who it is Mrs. Mulder with the X on top.
The second one from the right, I'm pretty sure, in the front. That's Daryl's grandma.
Oh.
Front row,
Yeah.
second from the right. Is my grandma Dora
Okay,
Reinders?
Reinders.
Dora
Yeah,
Reinders?
you're right.
okay.
She was at Glen Heston? No.
Okay.
Stubborn ass. She died very young.
Oh, she did.
38.
Oh.
Heart attack or something.
Mom was in second grade.
Next picture. This is the ladies' aid having coffee. Now, if you notice, they had a board and a sawhorse for a table. But it works. I don't remember the next one. Oh, yeah. This is the Reverend Myers. He ended up being a preacher in that church from 1924 to 1928. Oh, this is newspapers. This is 1905. I picked this up off the Alton Democrat, and they always have the Carnes News. Okay? So here we have, Jay Levinger was at a Shelton visitor Saturday and Sunday last. I love these old papers because they tell you who visited who and who had coffee where and all that. And we understand the party just east of Carnes has left for parts unknown. You gotta kind of read between the lines. This Cynthia Halsters is visiting her brother Johnny for a few days. That's nice. A large number of people from Alton and Orange City picnicked east of Carnes on Wednesday. Carnes is becoming quite popular. Wow. Now, the next one I really enjoyed. Ball game last Sunday, they did it on Sunday, between Carnes and Stubble and Carnes resulted in Carnes being beat to a tune of 9-1. Say, fellas, try something easier. And then Walt Slaggy and Harry Vanderlinden of Alton were at Carnes on Tuesday. They came down to see that everything was going right with the work on the new line west of Carnes. Whatever that means.
Railroad.
Railroad line, I suppose, in 1905, more than likely. Okay, as I said, Carnes is getting robbed. And it's quite a story. Yeah, it is. Okay. A holdup occurred at Carnes. The first station south of Alton last Saturday night, 2 armed men went into the store of Jacob Adama at about closing time and compelled him and his clerk, Anfred Wiensink, who runs an elevator there, to stand with their hands in the air while they went through their pockets until and safe. Okay. Till actually I found out means the cash register.
Yeah, and the pockets, the till, and the safe. They went through everything.
Right. Okay. They got about $200 and shut the 3 men in the cellar and made a good escape. The town consisted of 2 elevators, 3 dwellings, and a store, so it was an easy job. The hold-up artists were described as young men about 25 and 20, respectively, one tall and the other short. They will readily be identified if caught, as they had loafed around Carnes all Saturday morning. Strangers are not numerous in the hamlet, hence their dress and general appearance were carefully noted by the citizens. Section men below Carnes also looked them over just before noon as they footed it to Sini, where they went for dinner. At just what time in the afternoon they headed back to Carnes is unknown. But the cornfield across the road from the store bears evidence that they hid in the weeds for some time. They also devoted some time to cutting the telephone wires between Carnes and Orange City. It was about 8:30 when they approached the store. One opened the door and entered with 2 guns in one hand. The other came close on his heels with guns ready for action. They called with "Up with your hands and be damn quick about it. We want your money." That was the startling order that they came to the 3 men. Adama and the clerk obeyed. Winnie, being a descendant of Peter's Stuyvesant, the Dutch type on
New York.
yeah, who always delayed a while, disobeying long enough to state that he had no money. A click on one of the guns stopped the argument, and he hastened to state that he could spare a $20 bill. That's a lot of money back then. He was just diving into his pocket for it when one of the bandits commanded sharply, "Up with your hands, we'll get it." And they did. They took his watch also. It was an old country watch, and a good one, but looks more like a relic. They joshed Winnie about it being so good and gave it back. They took the clerk's dollar, Ingersoll watch, and small change and relieved Adama of what he had, and then went through the counter till. They had acquired less than $25 and looked around for the safe. "Open it," said one while the others backed Wenig and the clerk into a corner. Then Adama felt the cold barrel of a gun on his neck, and he opened it. They got $180 in the post office and store money out of it. "Get us something to drink," was the next order. Adama explained that he only kept top that were in the cellar. "Go after it," they commanded, and Adama went. When he went out of sight, the robbers marched Wenig and the clerk after him. They shut the trap door and rolled a barrel of salt on the door and some other heavy stuff. "If you come out of there before daylight, you're dead men," they hissed through the crack in the floor. The Orange City Night Central phoned in vain for Carnes. In other words, they couldn't get through with the phones. At last, over a private line, which the robbers had failed to cut, Will Poland was aroused. He had left the store a few minutes before the robbers entered and thereby saved his 30 cents for Santa Claus. He didn't know why Orange City couldn't get Carnes, but went over to see. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and he found Adama and Weenie not at home. And their wives, for Pete's sake. Yeah, and their wives were anxious. They went over and discovered what was up, and let the imprisoned men out of the side cellar door. Weenink got his rifle, and the others at arms. They could prowl around and watch for the balance of the night. But the robbers, of course, were by this time far away. Mrs. Weenink and Adama have been to Sioux City since to look at suspects, but the right men were still at large. So that's the robbery in Carnes.
Never did catch him, did they?
Never did.
They're still at large today.
Keep your doors locked.
I'm dead.
What year was that?
What's that?
What year was the robbery?
1909. Okay. In 1920, or early 1930, Carnes got a gas station and did quite well, so that in the early 1950s, a new gas station was built. This is the old gas station. It's kind of funky the way the picture is, because this is the highway down here.
Okay. South of the road?
Pardon?
Was that south of the road?
North.
Yes.
No,
Yes, it's
north.
south of the road, but north of the elevators.
It's north of the road. It's north of 33. 33 went through there. The station is north of it.
North of the highway?
It was north of Highway 33. Believe me, I have waited for the bus many times.
Okay, let's go to the next picture. This is the new gas station, which was put up in the 1950s. And if you notice the house here, now I'm going to show you something, because I took a picture of today. The gas station, you remember, has a flat roof, and then it's got the extended roof. And we notice the house in the back here. Go to the next picture. Today, it's a pizza joint. Here's the flat roof. This is where the garage used to be. And if you look at the house, you know how to go backwards?
With the arrow?
Yep.
Yeah.
The house with the windows and the pitch roof. Now go back.
They added a piece, but it's the
Yes,
same
we added
house.
several pieces to it. But it's the same place, the same house, and that's where the gas station is today. It's a
That's
pizza
Highway
joint.
33 that you're looking at right there. Right? That's old Highway.
This here is the street. This is not Highway 33.
It was Highway 33 back then.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you. Because I can show you the plot map, and it shows Street A. So, anyway,
Yeah.
because Highway 33 was over here somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Then in 1936, Highway 33 got paved instead of gravel. Before, this road was gravel or dirt or gravel and dirt, whatever the case. And then they had an article in the paper, January 1938. It might be all right for Seney to brag about being the smallest town in Iowa with the main street being paved. But here comes Carnes with the claims to be 100% electrified, with a 33,000-volt transmission line that ran between Lamar's and Alton along Highway 33. The line went right through the heart of the city of Carnes. So the company built a substation, stepped it down from 33,000 volts to 6,000 volts, and then from the 6,000 volts to 110 volts, and now everyone in Carnes is getting juiced. November 9, 1950, 1/2 mile south of Carnes, around midnight, a Peter DeBeer's car hit the bridge on Highway 33. 5 hours later, he was transported to the Lamar's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Today, Carnes still exists. The gas station is now a pizza joint. The newer elevator still stands, however, it's not functional. A couple of houses still stand, and the train still actively rolls through town. That is the history of Carnes.